Thank you for joining us today. This is Sungrandcast. I'm Jerrel.
I'm Stubby, or Grant, whichever one tickles your fancy.
So it's great to have you guys here. Thanks for coming to hang out with us. So Grant and I have been friends for a while now, but we actually don't get to see each other that often because of work. And before the last time we caught up, it was 4 years.
Like, life really does like to get in the way.
Yeah, so what we're going to discuss today will be our format here is we have a topic, we have news, and then we have a lucky dip. So at the end of the episode here, we're just going to randomly pick an article from a website or a gaming website, and we'll go over that. So the topic I want to discuss with you today, Grant, is USB cables kind of suck.
Okay. Well, I mean, now we're obviously going to be talking more on the lines of, like, the data distribution, or the fact that it's a power source.
Both.
Okay.
I want to ask you this. When was the last time you had a phone and you were certain you've plugged it in to charge, came back hours later and found out that for some reason it just wasn't charging?
3 days ago.
Well, there we go. So this is this is very topical, isn't it? So just before we started this episode, we started rolling here. My recording studio here, obviously the recording hardware is connected by USB, and for some reason, my PC just said no.
No? Just no. Okay.
I can see that the cable's plugged in. I know I haven't touched anything, but why do you think this is happening to us? Let me be more precise. What did we do as a human race? What did we do to deserve this?
Oh, well, I mean, you know, there's years of crusades and many crimes against our fellow man
Right.
that I think may have culminated to this moment.
We made the Tasmanian tiger go extinct.
Absolutely.
So I think we're paying for that.
And where's all the goblins gone? Where are they all
Gone.
at?
Hobbits?
Hobbits? Gone.
So the great auk was a beautiful animal. I mean, we could go on and on. There's passenger pigeon was... Look, I'm going to be honest with you here. It's terrible that we've lost it, but I personally couldn't tell the difference between a passenger pigeon and a pilot pigeon. So I know that people be angry at me for not knowing the difference.
Yeah, man, you should know your avian, know, the subspecies.
Yeah, and I'm willing to admit that as a person, I do need to be better when it comes to identifying the pigeon types. Unfortunately, the vast majority of my brain when it comes to identifying animals, that space is taken up by Pokemon. And I don't want that knowledge, but it's in there.
Jeez, I mean, I still have problems remembering the first 151, so I can't throw stones in that house. But It's actually funny that you say this, because like this was just a thing that was thrust on me now, and I'm dead set not kidding. 3 days ago, plugged in my phone at 7 p.m. Like, woke up to the alarm, looked down, 57% in the morning when I'm on my way to work. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
This is weird.
I don't understand, right? And maybe there's someone out there who is a technician and can maybe chime off in the comments and explain it to us. I'm not an expert, so I can't speak to that, but I sure as heck can complain about it.
Well, the other thing too, like, I mean, I don't recall as often when we were using USB Mini and USB Micro.
Right. Yeah.
It's really kind of more an advent since USB-C has kind of come into it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Is it because they've tried to make it, it doesn't matter which side you turned it in, or, because it's supposed to transfer data at a much higher, megabytes per second sort of thing.
That's right.
Is that a contributing factor? But, I mean, the form factor itself shouldn't.
Yeah, you would think it shouldn't.
It shouldn't really have a difference.
It looks stable, doesn't it?
It's, aesthetically it's quite pleasing, but that's because it's reversible sort of thing.
I'm happy to just have the USB go in the first time as opposed to the third time. And
well, I never really had that problem, but I can see fumbling around in the dark, half asleep, and you kind of wake up, one eye half open, and you're like, oh man, I forgot to put my phone on charge, and you grab your phone and, why is it not going in?
Yeah. Have you, you've obviously owned phones for a very long time, but when we had micro USB as charging, have you ever had the panic moment where you realized you were trying to force it in upside down.
See, honestly, no.
Wow.
No. And
Wow.
I think that might have just been because I was tempered in USB Mini.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
Because
So you've been hardened through years of...
See, well, I've never gone the Apple route, so I've never known Lightning cable. So, like, I would say that from the earliest, like, I think it was a Nokia 5510 that I had that had a keyboard on either side of the screen.
Oh, yeah, very cool.
It was purely just for the, I think it was like 58 megabytes of onboard space to put MP3s on there. That was the whole reason I bought it.
Hey, you get a couple of MP3s on there, man.
Oh, so good. And
let me ask you, on those phones, who did you put on there? What music did you put on there?
Tool.
Oh, yeah.
Tool was definitely on there. There would usually be some sort of video game soundtrack, whether it was the Quake 2, like one or two songs from Quake 2
Absolutely.
or MechWarrior 2.
Oh, yeah.
But it would always be something where, because essentially what I used to do, I used to be a mechanic, used to just jump in the back of the van with my dad and my brother, and I would essentially just have a second sleep while we were on the way to where we were going.
Yeah.
So I would just put my headphones in and just sort of pass out. So it had to be something that was at least kind of mellow.
Right.
Like, you know, I wouldn't put anything on there like Metallica or anything like that. Like, even though I love Metallica, but yeah. But yeah, so I guess like that usage of USB Mini always taught me plugs go a certain way.
Yeah.
And the idea of, it doesn't matter what way you do it, always felt to me like, that's kind of weird, but okay, let's go.
I've had a couple panic moments in my life. I'd say probably around 5 or 6 where I realized I was forcing the micro. I was trying to force it in, and those things, they stick with you.
Yeah, no, I can definitely imagine the panic when you go, oh my, have I just bent all the teeth up? Like,
Exactly,
have I ruined the device or the cable?
So let me ask you this again on the topic of USB cables kind of suck. I don't think it's just the cables. I think it's the ports themselves. So every laptop I've had, eventually at least one of the ports will just not work.
Okay, now these are the USB-A ports, yeah?
Yeah, the normal USB thing.
Okay, I don't think I've ever owned a computer where the USB ports have lasted the life of the machine.
Yeah. Why is that?
And I have quite a high-end, it was a high-end laptop when I purchased it, and it has 3 USB 3.0s, like the blue ones.
Of course, yes, the good ones.
And it's got
the good
3 like standard USB-A's, right? There are only 2 USB ports that actually work on that, and none of them are the 3.0s.
Exactly.
And it's
why?
Okay, so I remember talking to a friend of mine who was a bit of a technician who used to repair them, and he basically said the solder points where the port itself actually are, they are just not big enough for the constant data transfer, so the heat that goes through it essentially lifts them off the PCB that they're on.
So this is a red ring of death situation.
Exactly.
Wow.
That was actually what I equated it to.
Yeah,
I was like, so you're saying it's a red ring of death sort of thing?
Yeah,
and he says the exact same principle.
Yeah.
If they just increased the size of the contacts for the USB-A, it would be fine. But because they are produced in the millions in some warehouse somewhere in China, they don't care about regulations. They just want to get them out the door.
This is all very enlightening. See, this is frustrating. Say I plug a hard drive into a USB port in a laptop and the computer doesn't register it at all, but every other USB device I plug in works fine. Yes. And so you just have to memorize, okay, the left one, the bottom left USB port doesn't take a hard drive, but I can put it on the right one, and you think, why do I have to do this?
One of the broken USB-A ports in my current computer will, however, power and charge my phones, my controllers.
Excellent.
It just won't I/O. Yeah. It won't pair with them. Which I find hilarious.
It's funny we have this. It's such a standard piece of technology. It's everywhere. We obviously can do it. Why can't we do it a little bit better?
Yeah, hence the term, universal serial bus. It's universal. It's been around for absolutely ages.
They didn't say for how long it was going to be universal, though.
Well, yeah, typically, you kind of move on. And it's strange that they've changed one side of the cable but not the other.
Oh yeah.
And only really recently we've started to see some of the more like surfaces and stuff like that actually have a USB-C port rather than a USB-A cable.
So here's what's frustrating as well, is these ports on your PC and your laptop, you stick a device in there and it doesn't work. But for some reason, if you stick a USB hub in that hole and then plug the device into a USB hub, it works. Please, why is this happening?
Like and how is it really able to discern from the 4 completely different things that are plugged into the one port?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's all just software, and software is definitely not, my forte, even slightly. But it is one of those, it must be witchcraft.
I assume it must be. We angered a warlock or witch at some point, and they cursed us.
They cursed our family bloodlines.
Yeah, so our children's children will be stuck with USB ports that are just really annoying.
Oh man, that is not a future I want to be part of. That's so horrible.
It's the future we have.
Imagine that. We have flying cars. We have plant-based meat, that actually tastes like meat and is nutritious and all that kind of stuff. But we still have these antiquated USB-A ports.
It's the curse. It's the curse of USB. And look, this is what we deserve for making the Tasmanian tiger go extinct.
That's it. It all comes back to that one pivotal point.
Yeah.
It's a flashpoint.
So I want to ask you, I've already sort of discussed a little bit on my thoughts about the PS5 Pro announcement, but I would really like to hear your thoughts. You have a very good perspective, and you are right in the face of the industry, and you're seeing products with distribution, and you see all of this. So I would like to hear your thoughts on the announcement of the PlayStation 5 Pro.
So the announcement being a 9-minute video by who I do genuinely believe is an absolute genius in the field, Mark Cerny. He's an absolute wizard when it comes to being able to create a product that has a particular lifespan, and map where it's going to go and how far even SDKs will be in the future and stuff like that. I do think he is a genius. As to how much his hands get tied, I'm not too sure, but this video kind of felt like he was really given a script more than he was talking. Even when PS5 was initially announced and he was standing on the podium going through everything. The other thing that really baffles me is that they release it on a platform like YouTube. When they're trying to explain the fidelity upgrade that your console will give you, when YouTube is notorious for not being able to deliver a consistent high 4K frame and at high frame rates. So when they zoom in side by side, you're there going,
it's the wrong platform for this.
There is no difference. What I'm seeing is exactly the same.
And for any viewers who are just a little unsure on what Grant means by that, he's saying that YouTube video quality isn't really that good. It's actually, it doesn't matter how high quality your video image is. When you upload it to YouTube, it compresses and you lose a lot of fidelity in your video quality. It just gets worse, and there isn't that much you can do about it.
And that same VOD file is being hit by thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people at any given second. So you're never going to have that controlled environment where you get to watch the video at its absolute highest fidelity unless you go to a PlayStation website, download it, and then watch it through your own video viewer. Right? Which that I feel like is kind of where the technology has now gotten. When you put, and I mean this comes into another thing, when you put a price tag on a piece of hardware like that, when we have another piece of technology that came out 4 years before, it's kind of, you need to be able to deliver a very clear message about what the dollars that they're putting in
the benefit.
Them.
The benefit. What are people paying for?
Right, and I think a lot of the people who look at this and instantly go, I've got to have it, are probably just thinking, well, Grand Theft Auto 6 needs to run as good as it can possibly go.
That's right, yeah.
Right? And, I mean, a lot of people may turn around and say, oh, well, you know, the whole industry doesn't hinge on one game. No, it does. Like, right now, we don't have the Halo 2 moment. We don't have the Gears of War moment. They've all been and gone. Those series no longer hold the weight they used to. GTA 6 is the game that, like, the higher majority of the gaming world is waiting for.
Yeah.
And all Sony needs to do is say, our console's the most powerful and the fastest. If you want to play GTA 6 at the best quality, you need our console.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what price tag you put on it.
So you're saying that perhaps their marketing approach focused on the wrong things and was not able to convey the value for money.
Absolutely, and I think in that it was more for the fans of, like, PlayStation gaming. The fans who are expecting, well, hoping for you know, another Ratchet and Clank, you know, another Legend of Dragoon, another, like, even though we recently just got Astrobot and...
Oh, fantastic. Have you played Astrobot?
Okay, so I haven't played Astrobot because I'm kind of mad at it.
Oh, tell me.
It's... Okay, so... it came out the same time as the game that shall not be named. And there was one out of those two games that clearly had the higher marketing strategy.
Correct.
That had the buses, the you know, the billboards and all that kind of stuff. Astrobot had a vocal fan base because we played Astrobot when the PS5 first launched went, this is novel, this is unbelievably adorable. Yes. You can do anything with it. It's essentially like a Mario where you can stick him in a cart. You can make him a soccer player. You can make him a golfer.
Yeah. So you're saying Astrobot is a strong showcase of Sony's unique brand identity.
That it could be.
Yes.
But they did not consult, like, a lot of the games that they reference in Astrobot.
Right.
They didn't consult a lot of those creatives to put those things in there.
Oh no, I didn't realize that.
The head of Ben Studios recently came out and said they turned my character from Days Gone into essentially a Fortnite skin.
That's
what the hell?
Really
and they didn't ask me.
That seems quite wow.
So one thing that I did read, and it really did resonate with me a lot, was that Astrobot, because there's no confidence from Sony behind it, that it feels not that this is like a celebration of everything that has been the Sony brand, which they've got references to things like Resident Evil and God of War and like, you know, there's even some deep cut kind of stuff and third party stuff too.
You know what deep cut is to me is the PlayStation 1 demo with the manta ray and the T-Rex.
Hells yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do. Yeah, I'm pounding that one.
That was a silent fist bump. You weren't able to hear that, but it's you know, when you have that moment with a fellow gamer and you go, yes, the T-Rex from PS1
when the T-Rex
demo.
walks in looking directly at you and then looks to the left, looks to the right, and then snarls.
You know the sound effects. You can hear it in your head.
I can still hear that weird Jurassic Park-esque kind of song in the background. It's so good.
That is such a vibe, I'll tell you that.
But yeah, so with Astrobot, it really just feels like Sony didn't care where it landed, like that it was a second-rate citizen.
That's unfortunate.
Which really is, because it should be the celebration, like, for their legacy.
Yeah, I see. There's still time. So, Grant, I want to now move on to our final section of the show, where we will look up Gamerant.com. We're just going to scroll through, look for a random article.
Some news.
So I'm scrolling here for a random article on Gamerant, and I see one here, and I'm so delighted. I'm so delighted this has come up. So it's Marvel Snap, which I don't know what that is. It looks like a card game. Yep. So I'll ask you what you think of that. But also, it's Marvel Snap, the best Madam Web deck. And I just want to take this opportunity to talk about Madam Web.
That does seem a bit mean.
I'm not here to be mean.
No, not at all. But I mean, like, it's. I think the big fixation is on how. What what's the right word? Misguided the movie was.
Yes. So I want to tell you something. I've never told anyone this. In 2024, my favorite movie is Madam Web.
Like, actually?
Well, I haven't seen it, and I do not wish to see this film, but it is my favorite film because it has brought me so many hours of joy. And the reason being, again, you know me, I'm not a mean-spirited person.
No, not at all.
But I enjoy a YouTube video, and I enjoy people talking about Madam Web on YouTube. And no other, like, okay, Deadpool and Wolverine brought me immense joy and entertainment from watching the film. I will happily watch the film again.
Agreed.
But Madam Web has brought me, in terms of hours, we're talking quantity here, has brought me more hours of entertainment than Deadpool and Wolverine.
What about the Crow remake? Have you not followed the...
I don't know anything about that.
Oh man. Okay, we need to...
Is this a Sony venture?
After this turns off, we definitely need to have a conversation.
We'll see that.
But I mean, the original movie is like in my top 5.
Yeah.
Like, I love The Crow.
I'm so disappointed that we weren't able to morb things up and get Madam Web brought back to the theaters a second time. And I feel like the internet has let me down a little bit.
Look, I think any movie can be reworked and made better.
Yeah. No, I mean, I want them to just put it back in theaters for another weekend.
Oh.
You know how people said we were busy that weekend,
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah, so it's not my intention to be judgy, right? But I feel like our fellow moviegoers didn't work hard enough to push Sony into putting it back in theaters for another weekend.
So, is this kind of along the lines of like a Tommy Wiseau The Room style of like why it will be enjoyable, or is it more you want to just see Sony kind of go, do people actually want this back?
It's that one. It's their out of touch executive alternate reality where they think people talking about their product on the internet is good regardless of what people are saying. And I'm not saying that I derive joy from seeing Sony fail. I'm just saying that it is quite entertaining to watch from a distance.
Yeah, okay, no, that is... I mean... See, the funny thing is that Sony really isn't doing very well on any front except for PlayStation, their PlayStation brand.
Right.
And apparently their life insurance in Japan. I know that sounds ridiculous, but apparently those are the two, like, biggest money-making, like, sections of Sony.
Yeah.
Because, let's be honest, Bravia... You're not Samsung, and if you need a cheap one, LG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to, because you're more familiar with comic book lore than I am, correct?
To a degree, yeah.
Why Madam Web?
Okay, so Madam Web is essentially the character that brings a lot of the superheroes together to fight in the Secret Wars.
Right.
Which is kind of the next avenue that Marvel movies are heading towards.
Right.
And it was just strange that Sony decided to make a Madam Web movie. I think because they own the Spider-Man movie rights still and currently. And apparently now we're getting a Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire 20 years after,
I don't understand.
I've only heard that, okay, that, like, I should put an asterisk next to that in an editorial saying, like, I've only heard this. Yeah. I've seen one article, and of course, if it's on the internet, it's probably bullcrap.
Yeah. That's a great topic for another day. I'll try to steer back to the actual article.
But yeah.
Marvel Snap, the best Madam Web deck. I have never played Marvel Snap. Have you seen it?
So I've seen it, but I don't know a great deal of detail.
So I've
played quite a few of the mobile games of recent.
Right.
I've got a Japanese phone that lets me play a great game called Teppen.
Oh right. I've
Teppen
heard that.
Is really fun. But yeah, this Marvel Snap one, it looked a little too gutchery for me.
Right. Here's the thing. That's something I would like to discuss in a different video, but it looks like the kind of game where the more money you put in, the better advantage you will have when playing against other players.
Yeah, I'm sure that's like 90% of Marvel aimed games.
Well, it's been so much fun, and it was great to revisit this wonderful topic of Madam Web. If anyone out there has anything fun to share when it comes to Madam Web experiences, the film, of course,
please let us know.
Yeah, please let us know. So
and
thank you.
The USB debauchery as well. Like, don't forget that.
Please share your experiences of USB ports if you would like. So thanks very much for joining us today, Grant. It's been a pleasure.
Always, and thank you.
Thanks very much. This has been Sungrandcast. Please tune in again next time. Take care of yourselves.
Have a good one, guys.